Well, welcome back to the podcast, you all, my friends. I am so excited to have you here. We are continuing in a really great conversation that I started a couple of episodes ago. Last episode, 87, was the first one of the series on possibilities. I want to introduce you to possibility because how I define it is your willingness, the willingness of a woman to imagine a future bigger than what she currently has, like the current reality. And then the next level is the willingness to go and create that future. And that's what I call possibility. So in today's episode, we're going to discuss possibility changes you before your life does. Imagine being on the road home driving and thinking about your life, which is something I do often if I'm driving. I'm kind of like going over my life and you're reflecting on all the things you've accomplished, and there's still something nagging at your heart. Maybe you have a great career, maybe you make a decent income, you're proud of that. You love your family, you have beautiful children, you feel really accomplished there. Your fitness is great. Maybe there is business idea that is nagging in the back of your mind. Maybe you do have a debt that you want to pay off. You finally want to be debt free. Maybe you haven't started investing yet. You save money, but you don't invest yet. So you're thinking, I would like to start doing that. Or maybe you're just thinking, I want to feel more confident financially. I want to know what I'm talking about when it comes to my finances. I want to know how to plan for my future. I want to know how to feel grounded when I'm in a room and people are talking about money. And so when you have that idea, most people immediately feel like, oh, yeah, it's okay. It's just like, you just think, oh, it's fine. I'll get to it. We kind of take it super lightly. It's a natural reaction that happens so quickly that we miss it. But I want to introduce you to that moment, and I want to show you why that moment is so precarious. And I don't want you to take it lightly, because when your brain is scouring through your life and comes up with a desire, it's big. It's a big deal, my friend. It's huge. Even as simple as like, I would like to learn how to make crepes. That's super random, but like just maybe one day you're thinking to yourself, I would like to visit Portugal. I remember one day I had that idea. I was like, I want to go to Portugal. I want you to lock in that moment. It's a very important moment when you have a desire for something you haven't achieved yet or that you don't have yet. This is a very important moment. It's not to be taken lightly. I remember thinking back in the days, like, why in the world would I ever want to run a full marathon? That's ridiculous. Who wants to run for 4 hours? And then one day, I had a desire to run a full marathon. And I started to take that seriously because if my mind has changed and I now desire something I didn't desire before, it matters. And here's why that matters. Your voice, what you tell yourself inside of your brain, is the most important voice you ever want to listen to. But because it's a voice that's within us, it's the least important voice that we pay attention to. And so we flip that today. That's number one in this conversation about the possibility. Because if you're telling yourself, I want to be debt free, but immediately your brain is going to come back with objections. You've tried before, the economy is bad, there's never enough money to pay off the debt and also live your life. So let's just forget about it. Or you're telling yourself, I'm just going to be paying this debt forever. I'm never going to be able to be debt free. I'm going to pay until I die. Or you're thinking about retirement and you're like, I really want to plan for retirement. I really want to retire well and at peace. And you tell yourself, well, that's never going to happen because most people are not retired well. They're just still working until they die. So I'm probably going to work until I die. Notice how immediately you told yourself what you wanted, but then you came back and like literally destroyed all of that desire. And this is normal. So don't freak out if this happens, but I want you to notice that it did happen. And what happened there in that moment is the idea of this desire requires something. It comes with responsibility. Desire never comes alone. And this is why our brain shuts it down immediately. Desire comes with responsibility. If you desire to be debt free, the immediate reaction from your brain comes from the fact that there's a responsibility attached to living debt free. You first have to find extra money to pay off the debt. You have to be disciplined enough to follow through on the process of paying off the debt. And then you have to live debt free. That's not how you're living right now. Those 3 changes, massive changes, your brain is not on board with that because our brain does not like to change. It likes to be the same. So it's going to give you the immediate reaction of, that's not going to work, forget about it. Notice there's 2 moments. You have a moment where your desire is pronounced, and then immediately right after, there's a denial. It's like stamped, not approved. And you want to understand that that's not you disapproving of your desire. It's your brain. And if you can separate the 2, you're going to have so much peace, and you're going to be ready to tackle this, the next part. Because you have to understand that your brain in its default mode wants to conserve energy, avoid discomfort, and seek immediate pleasure. None of those things come when we are becoming responsible for our desire. And that's the part that you want to be conscious of. When you have a desire for something, you want to build wealth, you want to build savings, you want to invest money, you want to retire with peace, you want to run a full marathon, you want to learn how to cook a certain dish. Whatever desire you have, know that it comes with responsibility upon you to bring that desire to life. Desire is not wishful thinking. It's a voice within you that is saying, we can do more. Desire is rooted in potential. All of us as humans have a potential that's untapped, and our consciousness, we know what that potential is. We have an idea of it. We know if we are tapping into it, and we know if we're not. So when we have a desire, think of the potential as like this sea that's within us, full of treasures. There's so many treasures at the bottom of the sea. And so when we have a desire, it's one of those treasures that rose to the surface and made itself known. And now we have this voice inside of us telling us, wait, there's something available here for you, and we could go after it. And when you deny yourself that and you shut down that voice telling you what you are capable of, what is possible for you, what that does is kind of trains your nervous system that you are more reactive and that you are incapable. It lowers your self-esteem. And your self-esteem is just really how you see yourself. So you have this part of you that is watching, and you're destroying this desire. And that part of you is saying, oh, so we're not capable. It takes that principle, applies it everywhere else in your life. This is how the human psyche works. And so it's really important to pay attention to the desire. All right. So now the desire is here. You understand it comes with a responsibility to make it happen. It's not wishful thinking. It doesn't happen to us. We create it. That's where everything starts to shift. When you can take ownership of that responsibility, life starts to have a very powerful, heavy meaning, which is where I spend most of my time. I was thinking about this. It was like, I spend a lot of my time in the process of tapping into that potential. And I want to take you in the process. I want to teach you how to love the process so that you're not afraid of it. But here's how you fall in love with the process. It's when you understand what the reward is. What do you think the reward is of taking on a life of challenges and discomfort and discovery? What do you think the process, the reward is? It's a life well lived. A life well lived is a life that includes financial confidence, includes a high self-esteem, includes tapping into your potential and seeing all the amazing things you're capable of, includes peace of mind, security, grounded knowledge, applied knowledge, more wisdom, better relationship with people around you, better relationship with yourself, trusting the future, knowing you are the creator of your life and not just life happening to you. And when we talk about financial confidence, there's so many compartments of that, right? It's not necessarily being super wealthy or rich and making all the money. Now that is a byproduct. It happens, right? But it's the idea of you just knowing that no matter what the economic landscape looks like, you're ready for the part. you are always ready. You're always prepared emotionally and mentally. And when those two are combined, strategically, you will be prepared. Because the goal here is to embrace the expansion that comes along with the idea of listen to your desire. In the last episode, we talked about fear, and the fear is what prevents you from stepping into the expansion. But when you understand your relationship with fear and that you study it and you become intimate and familiar with the fear, then you let yourself be willing to let the desire be there and then the responsibility. And then you understand that that's part of being human, to evolve, to discover this responsibility and whatever it takes to create this desire that was in us, was in you, which is why your identity, your who you are, your self-concept, the idea of who you are to yourself changes before your life changes. So again, let's go back to the example of the debt, right? You want to pay off debt. A lot of people do this and they don't realize that's the reason why they're still stuck with the debt. Because you want to pay off the debt, but you're not willing to take the responsibility of the woman who's paying off the debt. The woman who is with debt today is not the same woman who's going to be debt free tomorrow. It's two different identities. It's really fascinating how that's the case, because our belief systems, who we think we are, what we think about, is what creates the reality we live in. So if you are in a reality where you have debt, is part creation of your current mental state. And so if you're going to be debt free, your mental state has to shift, which means your identity is going to shift. What you believe in is going to shift. I'm going to give you an example when it comes to weight loss journey. And I've heard this so many times. I've done this work in so many different areas of my life. I never did this with weight loss. The way I've lost weight in the past was always in such unconventional ways that I just didn't have a process. I didn't understand how I did it. I just kind of did. But this time I was very intentional. I hired a coach and we worked together. And I promise you, the identity shift happened before I lost the weight, physically speaking. I started thinking of food such different ways. It was magical. I was so excited because I was like, I cannot believe this is what I'm thinking about. So, for instance, I actually love chicken now, and I never did before. It's really fascinating. I did not like chicken. I did not like chicken breast at all. It tasted like sand to me. And now I love it because in the past, my belief system, my overarching belief system around food was food is poison. Food is the enemy. I really believe that. And which is why I enjoyed fasting, because for me it was freedom. I was like, oh, I don't have to eat. I don't have to cook. I don't have to clean after cooking. Food is the enemy. It's just creating too much trouble in my life, right? And you could see it in every aspect of how I interacted with food. I would go days without eating, or when I ate, I binged sometimes, and sometimes I just kind of ate just to survive, which in the meantime, I also enjoyed cooking. Like that's one of my favorite, that's my number one hobby. So very contradictory relationship with food, but it just came from that belief system, like two opposite thoughts. I love food, also food is the enemy. While I worked with my coach, I started to look at food differently, think about food differently, look at my future self and how she's interacting, the desire she has of the weight loss she wants to achieve. How is she interacting with food? And that's when the new belief system emerged. That's when the identity shift happened. I started to realize, wait a minute, food isn't the most important thing. The way I'm interacting, I'm always thinking about food because I'm constantly seeing it as the enemy and how much rent free it's spending in my brain. Not useful. I'm the main asset. I'm the event. I'm the events. I'm the most important thing. And if I am the most important thing, then food is the fuel to help me operate. And once I had that mental shift, everything came naturally. Eating was no longer a chore. I ate when I needed to, for how much I needed to, and it felt righteous. I didn't overeat. I didn't undereat. I didn't skip meals. And I didn't eat things that weren't good for me for where I'm trying to take my life. I'm running a full marathon this year. I am super physically active. It matters what I put in my inside of my body. And I started paying attention to that from a place of I'm the main event. I use food to fuel me. Belief system completely different, behaviors completely different, results showed. So when you take on the desire that's in your heart, you want to take it seriously. But more importantly, you want to be willing to take on the responsibility that comes with that. And that is going to be an identity shift. And this is another reason why your brain will resist the desire itself, because it's going to require you to shift your identity. Your brain doesn't want to, it wants to stay the same. Your brain wants to stay where it is right now, sit on the couch, watch Netflix, eat popcorn all day. By the way, I lost the weight without dieting, just so you all know. So it was never about dieting. I've done different diets in the past, which I cannot even believe I'm saying that. I do not like the word dieting, and it's been years since I stopped trying to lose weight with dieting. But it just goes to show how much the identity has to change first. But it's not a matter of you making yourself change first. It's kind of naturally how it occurs. If you open the door to possibility by listening to your desire, which means just wanting what you want, owning what you want, right? If you say you want to be debt free, I completely endorse that. If you say you want 10K in your savings account, I endorse that 100%. You want to buy a house? I endorse it. You want to build a business? I endorse that. That's your desire. Listen to that. Trust that. Don't question it as if like, is that really good for me? Am I wanting too much? There are so many women that I talk to that feel like what they want is too much. There's no one giving it to you, so it can't be too much because you're the one that's going to go create it. So once you're there, again, let's go back to that responsibility. Now, the responsibility comes with discomfort. Yeah, I am responsible for what goes inside of my body, but I still have desires for what I want. So I'll like look at a cupcake and I'll want it. But if I'm really honest, I don't actually want it because the truth is it will interfere with my goals. So maybe my brain, Amy, who is after instant gratification, avoiding discomfort, and conserving energy, she'll want the stuff that the old version of me wants. But once I know that that's just Amy reflecting back on old patterns, I don't have to listen to that. So if you have a desire, you want something, part of that responsibility is you recognizing, yeah, the old story may still be there. It doesn't mean I have to follow it. And that's the discomfort that will come along with the fun, the journey of you fulfilling your desire, tapping into your potential. There will always be that little nagging voice because that's just part of our brain that's going to want you to do things that are not going to take you where you want to go, which is why you want to make sure that when you take on that responsibility, you understand what's on the other side, the reward, a life well lived, a mind well managed, where you know the difference between what your brain is saying versus what you truly want. I wrote an email for this week through our community on the email list. Your future has to be louder. I think that's why it was titled. It was something about your future being louder. And one of the reasons why the journey to achieve your goals is so challenging is because your future isn't loud enough. You're not spending enough time thinking about the version of you that has achieved the goals. And that's because you're still kind of like negotiating with the possibility. But once you let yourself embrace the possibility, negotiation is not necessary anymore. You're just spending a lot of time in the future seeing how capable you are because you've achieved it. And then you just get wisdom from that future version of you and bring it into the present, and you continue to just unveil that version of yourself to yourself. This is so fun. And this is why I spend so much time in this in between, because I am writing journals on journals on journals of who I'm becoming, of the transformations I'm creating along the way. There are tiny little transformations. And all of these transformations are moments that you want to pay attention to. Because the truth is, your success on this journey is at the intersection of matching the right strategy with the right moment. Which is why I want you to pay attention to these moments when you have the desire, when your brain has a comeback, like, oh, it's not going to work. And then what do you do from there? And then what do you do with the responsibility that comes with that? That's a moment. Pay attention to these moments, because the accumulation of these moments is what leads you to a successful life. When you're trying to pay off debt, the desire to pay off the debt is the moment. And then the decision to move along with the plan to pay off the debt. Maybe you buy a debt payoff course, and you decide you're going to implement it. You're making small decisions along the way. And these are moments that are worth paying attention to and noticing how this is where your transformation is happening, which is why your shift is happening before the reality, physical reality. For instance, when I learned how to swim, I changed my belief system about my capability before I learned how to swim. Because before, I used to believe that I didn't learn new tricks. From that mindset, I tried to learn how to bike. It didn't work. Of course, I kept proving my belief to be true until I realized, oh, wait, no, I can change. I can adopt new habits. I can learn new things. And then I went learning how to swim. The first couple of lessons were painful because I just was like, I'm like a brick. I was a brick, right? But I kept practicing, believing I can learn new things. So I used visualization to learn how to swim. I practice and practice. And now I know how to swim. But my identity shifted before that happened. We're conditioned in the world to want our reality to change because it seems to be the easiest path. Like, oh, if only I made more money, I would be able to pay off the debt. If only I made more money, life wouldn't be so hard. But the money is just the physical evidence of who we are on the inside. So as I close out this conversation on the possibility is opening the door for your self-concept, your self-image to shift first before reality shifts. Always remember that the thing you want that is physical is a result of who you become from the inside. So let's reverse the chase and let's go after a belief system that allows us to be the woman that creates financial confidence. And for many of you, it will be different things that you need to shift, different ways you need to look at your relationship with money, different ways you need to look at life, different ways you need to look at your employment and your resourcefulness and what's available. And that's possibility. That's the possibility formula. When you turn on your brain to see what's available, when you ask yourself powerful questions, that's when everything changes. So I want to leave you with these 3 questions that you need to ask yourself. And those are prompts you could journal about that are really powerful. What if your desires are pointing towards your potential? What does that look like? Write about it, freestyle. The second question, what becomes available when you stop defining yourself by your current circumstances? This is really powerful. And the third question is, who do you need to become to create what you want? Basically, describe this version of you that has the thing you want. Who is the woman who's debt free, or who has the house, or who has the promotion, or who makes a 6-figure income? That's your work, because possibility changes your identity, your self-concept before your current reality changes. And every external transformation begins with an internal one. So every time your brain wants to complain about the physical reality not being where you want it to be, remember the shift has to happen internally first. All right, my friend, I really hope this was useful, and I can't wait to talk to you until the next episode. Until then, go out there and live your life on purpose.